But anyway, we move on to the Doctor ending, which for the most part follows Strelok's path since it's introduced after the point of no return. Now, to refresh our memory, the Doctor is a former Project X member named Kaymanov, who bailed on the project before they became the Sea Consciousness and created the Zone. Let's see. It would be right about here we go. Yeah, he was once an associate of Strelok, but they're now in conflict, and it's somewhat philosophical. Yeah, he can at least dream up his apartment. That's pretty much what you have to do. Strelok believes the zone needs to be restricted as a dangerous phenomena. The Doctor thinks it's some kind of intelligent being, like a genius loci that only lashes out when provoked. Both men take a weird turn, however. Strelok, as we saw, has developed an obsessive edge himself, referring to the zone as a her. The achievement for his ending is literally called She Will Never Be Free. Neither will we, I remind you, if he gets his way. So what happens to the Doctor's path? Well, the main differences happen after you attack the monolith stronghold, but there's a lot of interesting lore right after you make the choice. We'll start there and jump ahead as needed. I know. It is... it is darkly comic that we're basically doing this for real estate. And it kind of spirals out of control from there. So yeah, this is after we deal with Korshinov and the zone starts going nuts. Technically on the Strelok path for now, but then we have this cutscene where we meet the Doctor. And again, I really do love the voice direction and the modeling work done on these cutscenes. It's genuinely impressive. Like when Scar was getting up off the ground and he was like groaning through his dialogue. He understood exactly what his character was doing. It's genuinely impressive work. Right, obviously it's a little more than that. Like, they covered this... Well, I'll let this play out.
Але що ми робимо, коли стикаємося з чимось справді незрозумілим?
Yeah, he's looking for a place he belongs.
Рве її на сувеніри. Інші тримають закутою в клітці периметра. Та, можливо, все, що дійсно потрібно зоні, це наше співчуття. Можливо, час настав дозволити їй самій обирати свою долю.
It's all good, Orange. That's why I'm trying to stop and explain stuff.
До найжахливішої трагедії чи найбільшого щастя. Ніхто не знає, чого бажає зона насправді.
Зона нерозумна.
Але у неї велике серце.
The theory that Skif was an agent of the zone itself, a manifestation of its will. Interesting.
Для своїх мучителів.
Саме цього і хоче стрілець.
Він упевнений,
That would accommodate
що
for
зона
player
його
behavior.
відродила, тому захищатиме її. Це правда. А чи знає ціну свободи той, хто ніколи не був
I'll have to read a
вільним?
little more into that. That actually sounds interesting. Anyway, yeah, on the Strelok path, we kill the Doctor here. So what happens if we spare him?
Тобто зона ніколи не буде вільною.
Роби, що повинен, і будь-що буде. Занеси їх у підвал. За ширму з каліном. Просто зроби те, що я сказав. Будь ласка.
Yeah, in your own time, Skif.
Іди всередину.
That's where the basement hideout comes in. Yeah, it's kind of amazing that shack has held up as long as it did. Alright. So on the Strelok route, after we kill Doc, we're free to explore his house. And Richter shows up to take us back to Degtyaryev's group. But now we can actually dig a little bit deeper. I don't know if this is accessible on Strelok's path or not. But if you look over here, we find out the Doctor's got quite a few secrets that he hasn't told us about. Quite a deep little hidey hole here. Alright. This is a lore dump. Let us get reading. Doctor's Diary, 2010. Strelok left an artifact with me for safekeeping. The heart of Chernobyl. He brought it back from the north. I did some tests and came to a surprising conclusion. Apparently the zone has created an altered variometer, an anomalous version of Suslov's electromagnetic psi amplifier, and is at least 8 times more powerful. They had something like this back in 2006. I would have been able to connect to the noosphere by myself. This gets into some of the backstory with this, where they were trying various methods to get through the noosphere, and originally the Sea Consciousness Project, where 8 scientists would link their minds up to create a superconsciousness, was their ultimate solution. A document elsewhere theorizes there was a way to get around this by essentially creating an inside agent, but it was dismissed at the time. They didn't have the resources for it or something. Anyway, Fang and Ghost brought in Strelok. He was half dead. This was in the backstory of the first Stalker game. They say they came across some monolith inside the CMPP sarcophagus. Supposedly it's kind of a mythical wish-granting rock. What kind of nonsense is that? Either my former colleagues have gone completely nuts, or they still fancy themselves a force of destiny. Should I intervene or remain on the sidelines? How grateful I am to find a source of joy in all this gloom. Strelok has become like a son to me. Not by blood, but by the ways of the zone. He's strong. He will heal. And when he does, he'll go north again. Do I have the right to hold him back? Hey. Unique pistol. All the zone really needs is our compassion. Yeah, but when that fails, it's helpful to have a lot of guns. Alright, this is... Ooh, project data. Here we go. Alright, Project Y. Couriers, Chornozem, destroy the lists. Remember that name, it's going to come up later. Lab X3. Destroy all documents as well as evidence of reframing agents and using couriers. Provide scanners. Nestor. This was the guy that ran the garbage but disappeared before we got there. Provide alpha artifacts. We've got a number of faded ones. More than enough. Duga Comm Center. Replace the microchips with external action modules. So the Doctor isn't just sitting here chopping wood. He's got plans of his own. Draft of a speech to an unknown audience. You are capable of more than you think. Enough to take on the hardships that will inevitably befall us in the new world. You will need something more, however, to face the unknown. Much more. May the zone aid us if we find ourselves lacking courage in our future trials. You were all courageous enough to get here. Every single one of you. You had the will and the faith to make it through, and you are now worthy to become liberators. Now go to the mainland. Wait for the right time. Something beautiful is about to happen. So yeah, Doctor is getting up to some shit here. A group of these new explorers of the zone wandered into my swamp the other day. These two, who go by the names Fang and Ghost, find the local miracles quite enough for them, but this Strelok guy wants more. He wants to go north to the CNPP and even further, to the very center. I don't have the slightest idea what's going on there now. I've heard rumors that after becoming Sea Consciousness with the help of the MDST engineers, my former colleagues are doing their best to cover up their tracks. Their futile attempts to bring order to chaos are making things even worse. But to hell with them. My duty here is to save lives.
Картридж. Точно такий, як у бродяги.
Alright. So yeah, the Doctor's got his own plans for the final pod. And that's basically where we're going to head now. From here, the game more or less proceeds as normal until we get into the... until we get past the opening section at the Monolith Stronghold. So we'll go ahead to... Here it is. And normally this is where we meet up with Strelok. That's going to take a bit of a turn here. But yeah, I mentioned earlier that the C consciousness is basically the Illuminati now. It wasn't just a secret experiment that got out of hand. The Project X stuff was under a larger umbrella group that was, I believe, known as the Regulatory Board. Not a lot of information about them, but they themselves, I think, are comprised of like former Soviet-era scientists. The board shut down Project X after it created the zone, but the scientists that did it broke off and started their own group, the MDST that was mentioned. The notes are over here. The Ministry of Defense and Secret Technologies. Basically, Slavjestic 12. Anyway, let us continue. Time to go say hi to Strelok, who's going to be none too pleased that we didn't do what he asked.
Він страждав?
Ні,
Добре. Він на це не заслужив.
він на тебе чекав.
Думаєш, я не намагався зберегти йому життя? Зона не могла бути вільною, поки він був живим. І воно було того варте. Подивись навколо. Ні, Скіфе. Я нікому не віддам.
That does ring a bell, yeah. They were
Зона дала
doing...
мені нове життя.
Limansk wasn't just a
яке я готовий
location. They had something else
повернути.
going on there at the hospital.
Я захищатиму її.
Зоні не потрібен твій захист.
Thought you'd
Вона
appreciate that,
сама про
Zero.
себе потурбується. Відпусти її.
Говориш ти, а я чую слова доброго доктора. Він знав, що створив. І зробив би все, щоб втекти від минулого. Я вірив йому. Ми були зовсім близько до справжніх таємниць зони. Але він просто використовував мене.
Він врятував тобі життя, сучий ти сину. А ти так жодного разу і не подякував йому. Кожного разу, йдучи на північ, ти думав тільки про себе.
Well, that ended poorly. Cowboy up, Skif. Alright. So now, we gotta kill Strelok. And he is a bastard. He's basically a wizard now.
Kaymanov залізе тобі в голову, я ж попереджав.
Pretty much your best bet is to snipe him from afar with the Gauss gun, or rockets if you've got them. He'll chew you apart in a straight flight.
Я просив убити, а не слухати. Це
But as you can see, he kind of zips around the arena, and he'll randomly summon various anomalies that appear out of nowhere.
Що з нею робити?
There's a reason for this. Shit! Ah! Damn it! Ah! Ah! Pop your head up.
Знаю, якою вона хоче бути. Ти ні. Тому ти вже мертвий.
He's not as burly as Korshinov,
Тобі не зупинити мене. Десь
but he's a lot more nimble.
і ти там будеш. Зона дала мені життя. У тебе забере.
Where to go? This is about the safest place to engage him.
Не потрібен зоні, Скіфе. Ти їй лише заважаєш. Моє
Everywhere else is kind of exposed, and he's very, very accurate.
Ти тут випадковість. Я
We'll rock an endgame armor with all the upgrades, and he'll still die after about, like, 2 or 3 seconds of sustained fire. I think he's back here. Oh, there he is. Shit. As you can see, he's taking headshots like a champ. Ah, shit. Ah. Oh, God. Oh, no, 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 not that one. Oh. That anomaly follows us if we're wearing artifacts. Very dangerous. Usually... Oh, shit! Oh, shit! Usually where he hangs out is relative to where you are. He tends to gravitate to fixed cover points with his little dash maneuver. He likes to hang out up there. Or when he gets spicy, he runs over here. Oh, hey, I think we got him. Maybe, possibly. Ah! There he is in the center of the room. Noise. See? Wasn't that hard. Skill issue. And of course it vibrates through our hand. Awesome. The S.T.A.L.K.E.R experience in a nutshell. Now, what do we have here? So yeah, as you can see, he just had a bog standard AK rifle. But he did have this, the Heart of Chernobyl, an incredibly rare, almost mythical artifact that functions as a psi radiation amplifier. The degree of amplification depends on the characteristics and individual capabilities of the source. Its properties are still not fully understood, with the comprehensive range of parameters yet unknown, presumed to encapsulate the original structure of the zone's matter. Now, this is a unique artifact, and it is equipable. The game doesn't tell you what it does, but with us equipped, we now have regenerating health. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can demonstrate. This'll do. Don't try this at home, kids. I'm a professional. There we go. So yeah, if you're not bleeding, you just stand still for a few seconds. Or actually, even if yeah, it just bounced right back. Don't need any more medkits. Hell yeah. And you know, it's very helpful at this stage of the game, because the remaining monolith dudes are kind of a problem. And at this point, we still have S.T.A.L.K.E.R to deal with. So, you still get some mileage out of it. It's just kind of a late-game treat. Anyway, let's zip on ahead and see what the outcome of this is. Alright. So I believe we are... Right. Yeah, there's a thing we activate before we can get in the pod, which is our goal now. Alright. Kaymanov's Diary, January 2006. Looks like they made up their minds. They're keeping up professional appearances, sure, yet they're avoiding eye contact. What does the noosphere mean to you, Kaymanov? Will you give in to your desires, or will you protect the thought forms within its confines? This is the crux of the matter. Should we take a risk? It might pay off, but if it doesn't, we could be facing a disaster of unthinkable, even global magnitude. It seems Dahlin intends to swap out my empty pod with Suslov's apparatus from the Caribbean experiment. I'm surprised they haven't thought about constructing a variometer large enough to replace all 8 of us. But then who would claim the accolades? Now bear in mind that's, mumbo jumbo is what they thought the Heart of Chernobyl that Strelok was. Actually, if you look at this, it is very similar, if not identical, to the artifact that Strelok came back with in a flashback cutscene in the first game. Like, he barges into the doctor's cabin. He says, "If you only knew where I've been and what I saw there," holding this up. And this is implied to be that exact artifact. Anyway, OKTA launch instructions. Or OCTA, here we go. Noosphere Experiment Protocol. So, yeah, a whole lot of science stuff here, just telling you how to do it. At this point, we don't actually have anyone in there with us telling us how to do things. So we basically need to set this thing to activate once we step in. And it's kind of an interesting twist, because we no longer have a radio advisor or anyone really telling us what to do. We're just kind of following the information breadcrumb trail that the doctor left. Actually, hang on a second. There was an interesting cutscene. I want to go a bit further back. I know at some point you have a cutscene from the doctor's perspective, and it actually shows him interrupting the experiment, rather than just leaving and let the guys become the sea consciousness. So it's implied that it might have worked if he hadn't opened fire. Might not have saved to show that off, however. Hang on.
Не хвилюйся, тебе ніхто не потурбує. Хоча я все ще не розумію, що тут відбувається.
Ох, стрільцю, краще не лізьте туди. Тримайся, синку. Я про тебе подбаю. Усе буде добре. Куди ти тепер?
На північ.
Ну, спрацювало? Що ти дізнався?
Спрацювало. Аж занадто. Я бачив експеримент, під час якого з'явилася зона. Кайманов пошкодив артефакт, який всесвідомість використовувала, щоб втрутитися в ноосферу. І ще я бачив, як стрілець повернувся з центру зони з артефактом, який світився.
Можливо, це і є серце Чорнобиля. Може, він і досі у стрільця.
Є лише один спосіб дізнатись. Думаєш, стрілець брехав?
Я казав, що з ним щось не так. Він стверджував, що хоче звільнити зону, але діяв так, ніби має ще якийсь мотив.
Нам треба йти, доки стрілець щось не запідозрив.
Ходімо, я відведу тебе до Червоної фортеці. Стрілець має чекати нас там.
But yeah, the TLDR as the Doctor didn't just abandon the project, but actually try to sabotage it, and that might be part of the reason why the zone turned out the way it did. So he could be seen as trying to make amends and undo what he did. He could be seen as trying to like apologize to the zone for the way it was created. Again, he thinks of the zone as kind of a genius loci at this point. And his ending is unique. I will let it speak for itself once we get there. Alright, so back in here. Paperwork. Off we go. Hopefully this is after the granite fight. Looks like we go this way, maybe? I know you go down here in the flashback. And that actually goes into the chamber with the sea consciousness. Yeah, in this plot line, Skif actually goes through... Maybe I do go through here. Skif actually goes through some kind of mental conditioning that makes him suitable to get into the pod. Huh. Oh, here we go. Now I think we can open this door. Yep, here we go. Here we go. Alright, Skif, get in the pod. So this is kind of neat, where usually a cutscene takes over and the NPC you're with, or the faction leader you're with, does their thing. Here we get to interact with the machinery ourselves. It's all scripted. But it does let you kind of poke around and actually do things. And there is some consistency in the details. Like, there's a reason why we're able to activate this separately, whereas before we had to do it for someone else. Of course, we're just going to break it. Figure it's already shot up. A few more holes aren't going to hurt. Some broken glass in there. It's fine. We'll sweep it out. Gives character. Alright. Switch goes here. Time for us to claim our destiny. And hope this thing operates on a time delay. Note the wibbly wobbly. Pretty much. Gotta be a little less benevolent about it, though. The world is definitely going to change, however. See that poster, very clever. Honestly, it's not a bad little apartment. With the possible issue of this. I love that we have an energy explosion in our apartment. A strange rock appears, and our first thought is to touch it. That's the bright thinking that brought Skif to the zone in the first place.
Залишилася одна капсула. Іди всередину.
Yeah, it's implied these guys are doing similar experiments elsewhere in the world. And exciting things are about to happen with them.
Найбільша спокуса намагатися контролювати те, що ми не до кінця розуміємо. Але що ми робимо, коли стикаємося з чимось справді незрозумілим? Хтось рве її на сувеніри. Інші тримають закутою в клітці периметра. Та, можливо, все, що дійсно потрібно зоні, це наше співчуття.
Контрольний центр. Що там? На всіх об'єктах сплеск аномальної активності. Туга!
They're remarkably chill considering the thing appearing right behind them.
Дозволити їй самій обирати свою долю.
We're receiving numerous reports of unidentified anomalous engines. Wir rechnen mit einer weiteren Ansprache der Regierung an die Bevölkerung. Not approach or make contact with the anomalous object.
So yeah. Stalker 3, going worldwide now. Yeah, Planet Zone. Stalker 3, Heart of Los Angeles. They'll barely notice. Communication Center Duga above the map. That's right, yeah, there were satellite installations that they had control of, that the Monolith briefly took over. Now, if it were Detroit, this is also true, yeah. Might spruce up the place a bit. Yeah, if I remember right, we stopped worrying about the Alpha artifact at the Duga, but it was there. There's one more twist, however.
Бо немає нічого таємного, що не стане явним. Це лише питання часу.
You thought it was the Doctor, but it was me, Faust! Maybe, possibly.
сліпо служив моноліту,
Exactly.
допоки вона не відкрила мені очі. Щоб пригода, що зветься життям, тривала, маєш прийняти волю як необхідне. Це
So of
і
all
є
the endings, this is probably the one that
головним
most leaves it open for a
даром
sequel.
зони.
The gift of the zone is continuing the franchise. A generous gift it is. But yeah, obviously this opens up a ton of questions. It implies that anomalies are starting to appear worldwide. The theory, I think, is that since Skif didn't really have any preconceptions, he ended up being the best choice to go in there. But the ending, the very ending shot with Faust implies this was something implanted in him and it might have been him somehow playing the long game. Question is, was he Doctor the whole time? Did Strelok realize this? Is this allegory for something? This ending is the one that's kind of most open to interpretation, while also giving kind of a concrete direction of where it's going in the real world. It's a lot to chew on.